And, I could say it, you could say it, but when you hear Joe say things, it carries so much more weight. I just think with Purdy, I mean, he was a 4-year starter at Iowa State. He's a team leader. He's got this crazy, I mean, to me, what do you need? If you said, forget talking about Purdy and just talk about quarterbacks, what does it take to be a great quarterback? You got to be really, really, really smart. You got to be really, really, really tough. And you got to have big hands, strong hands to be able to pump fake. Also, I think Brock is in a lot of ways is the ideal quarterback for Kyle's system. Kyle is a, play action pass. Brock's a play action pass quarterback. Kyle's strength is his ability to have that play action fusion game, match up. So, you don't know if it's run or pass. And then you mix in the bootleg game. He operates that well. But to me, it's the play action game. Like the difference between Jimmy operating the play action and Purdy is night and freaking day. Jimmy, turns his back on the defense. He turned back around. He had to kind of recalibrate. Where is everybody? Where are the defenders? Where are my receivers in the pattern? And he never was ready to throw. He always needed an extra second to kind of recalibrate. If you go watch Purdy, he turns his back on the defense. As soon as he flips around, he's not even all the way turned around, and he knows where he's going, and the ball is about to come out. And, Joe kind of hit on it right there. The guy doesn't hold the ball. It comes out. And what you see and what we saw this preseason, and it was abundantly clear watching Darnold, Allen, and Lance compared to Purdy, the only time the Niner offense really looked like it was in rhythm was under Purdy. Everybody else looked like they were running plays. When he's in there, it looks like they've got an offensive rhythm. And when he's in rhythm, he's a really tough quarterback to beat.
Absolutely. 888-957-9570. Expectations for Brock Purdy. We want to hear from you, the fans, at 888-957-9570. Xfinity Mobile text line as well, and also Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I don't want to be that guy, but when we talk Purdy, arm strength is a thing. We got to bring it up. Not the strongest arm, just had surgery on it. I don't know what you made of the reports this week that he's
deloading.
Yeah, he's on like a kind of another pitch count. He didn't throw a lot in some of the practices. Did you make anything of that? Jennifer Lee Chan at NBC Sports Bay Area pointing out, it's kind of unusual. He didn't throw a lot this particular day. I don't know. Are you worried about, the arm at all? It was already kind of limited in strength. Now having surgery on top of it this year, maybe potentially losing a split second, which, as we know in the NFL, can make all the difference between an interception and maybe a touchdown.
I am concerned. Why? Because he doesn't have the arm strength to lose. If the guy was Joe Flacco, who cares? If you're throwing 100 miles an hour and now you're only throwing 98, okay, you can still get by. But if you're throwing 91 and you lose a mile an hour or two, and now you're 88, 89, you could go from, getting guys out in the big leagues to BP. And I don't mean Brock Purdy. So it's just kind of, it is a concern. I noticed it last week at the last practice. It's like he was not really throwing it with the same number of reps as Darnold and Allen. It's going to be something to watch for. He's got requisite arm strength. He went to Jacksonville after his college career to kind of maximize his mechanics and make sure he had a little bit more on the fastball. And he actually picked up, 4 to 6 miles an hour, they say, of ball speed in just working on those mechanics. And to me, that was the difference between having requisite arm speed and arm strength and below average. I didn't love the pick when I saw it on draft day because I thought of him as kind of a college quarterback, small in stature. I didn't study him that much. And he just seemed to me to be a guy that didn't have an NFL arm. But then he goes to Jacksonville. He works on his mechanics. He showed up in camp, and he had clearly enough arm strength. I think he showed enough arm strength this summer, but it's something to monitor. And, arm fatigue, it could be real. And we all kind of scoffed when Mike Silver talked about Trey Lance having arm fatigue a year ago. And yet, I think the Niners kind of, they downplayed it. They said, nothing's changed. He's on a pitch count. We're just trying to freshen him up for Pittsburgh. But it's definitely something to monitor because the NFL is an every week deal. And can he play the full schedule? I mean, it's a question until he hasn't played. The one thing we don't know yet, Spadoni, is we don't know if he can go, the 17-week regular season as the guy. He didn't do that last year. So we're in a little bit of uncharted territory. And then when you mix in the expectations of the championship game or bust, it creates a lot of intrigue going into the year.
It's a lot. 888-957-9570. Brock Purdy, expectations. And man, I'm just looking at the list of the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. And if that's what a lot of Niner fans are thinking, it's Super Bowl or bust this year, and Brock Purdy's got to be that dude, and he's coming off a surgically repaired arm. Patrick Mahomes won it last year. Prior to that, Stafford, Brady, Mahomes, Brady, Foles, Manning, noodle arm, elite defense, one of the best defenses we've seen in the past 25 years. That
Von
Broncos,
Miller, yep.
Von Miller, MVP. Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, Eli Manning. So, outside of that Peyton Manning year when he kind of had a noodle arm and they were just a running team and then they led on that defense against Cam Newton at Levi Stadium at Super Bowl 50, you kind of need to be that dude at quarterback. And that's ultimately what is Brock Purdy going to be beating out one of these elite quarterbacks? That's going to be the question to me ultimately, because what's coming out of the AFC. It's going to be Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. One of those five guys are probably going to be at hell. If it's not them, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, that's who you're going up against. And it's hard for me to wrap my mind around the concept. And I think for a lot of Niner fans, it's the same. This Mr. Irrelevant guy, man, it's not fair. I know that tag is kind of redundant now, and you're wearing a shirt right now on the Twitch in Utah. It says Mr. Relevant. It's hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around the notion of that guy, Brock Purdy, beating one of those guys, out-dueling one of those guys. It sounds insane, doesn't it?
Well,
I know we're going off 8 games and you looked awesome, but man.
What you're going off of is you're going off the eyeball. Yeah. The eyeball test. Because, what is Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert's the prototype physically.
Yes.
He's also 500.
Yeah.
He's a 500 quarterback. In his career, he's 25 wins, 24 losses. Yeah. So, it's
one of the biggest choke jobs in NFL history in the postseason last year against the Jaguars, too.
And yet people talk about Herbert like he's a 3-time Super Bowl winner.
Well, you have him in the Super Bowl this year, Larry. So.
No, I realize. I'm one of them. We're always projecting the 6'6" guy with the rocket arm to be awesome. But the reality is he's played 49 games in the NFL, 45 starts, and he's 25-24. Yeah. So, but it's also, it's worthy of talking about because Brock doesn't have the big time stature. Just from being in practice all summer, they're doing a lot of screens, a lot of hitches, a lot of running the ball. The one thing that Brock has at his disposal that we kind of downplay is he's got maybe the best collection of weapons in the game. McCaffrey, Debo, and Ayuk all look primed to have career years. Then you got George Kittle, and you've got a great Jawan Jennings is very dependable. They've got great weapons. He doesn't have to do it all himself. He just has to take care of the football. They got to run the ball with success. They got to play action pass off of it, and and theoretically, on paper at least, if Bosa's signed, they got a pretty good defense. So it's a team sport. We put a lot on the quarterback, but it is interesting to me that Purdy's undefeated. And won 2 playoff games, and Herbert has never won a playoff game, right? And he's 500, and yet people are like, Justin Herbert, wow.
Well, Larry, to be fair, if we're polling every single GM, who are they taking? Justin Herbert or Brock Purdy?
I know.
They're taking Herbert because
he's 6'6", 240.
Well, but also the head coach, Brandon Staley, he's a choke artist. He I don't know what he's doing half the time. They had a chance to move off of him this offseason. They chose not to. They thought bringing in the OC would help things with Kellen Moore now leaving Dallas, coming over here. So we'll see. But Justin Herbert, he is a tremendous talent, and if he was the 49ers quarterback this year, yeah, I think they're the NFC favorites. I just think they are. Now, it's not a shot at Brock Purdy. It's just reality. It's just looking at a stronger quarterback. We can